107 years ago, this is the way ice cream was made. One of these hand crank units where you would have a cylinder and a wood bucket, and you would pour rock salt and ice around the bucket, and then you would put your dairy ingredients in here. If you were making strawberry ice cream, you'd put your strawberry in, and then you'd turn a crank for 40 minutes, and you'd end up with a quart of strawberry ice cream. I'm Steve Thompson. I'm president of Emery Thompson Machine, and my grandfather, Emery Thompson, really began the ice cream business on mass production 107 years ago. He was working in a department store, kind of like a Macy's or a Bloomingdale's on 14th Street in Manhattan. And back then, there were no ice cream parlors. All your ice cream was bought either at a pharmacy in your local town or in a large department store in the basement. That's also where you bought candy and bakery goods, and thus the affiliation of having oftentimes candy with ice cream, because that's where you went to buy it. The old expression is necessity is the mother of invention. I didn't really understand that until I got more into the business. What it means is Emery Thompson was working 15-hour days running machines like this, a little bit bigger, with a motor driven, but still rock salt and ice. And that's how he was making his ice cream. And in 1903, they made $100,000 gross sales out of that department store in ice cream. That's equal to $1.1 million today in retail ice cream sales. So his necessity was he was working very long hours, and that became the mother of invention, that he went home to his house in New Rochelle, New York, and invented the modern day batch freezer. Now, I know other companies like Cappigiani will tell you they invented the batch freezer in 1917, but it was first patented in 1905 by Emery Thompson. Back then, the machine, and there's some pictures up here on the wall you'll be able to see later, that show a vertical cylinder and what they called a brine tank. It was a long tank filled with salt water, and it was refrigerated back then with ice, and he circulated the salt water around the barrel, and that became the source of cold. It was vertical at the time. In 1919, we determined that vertical was primitive for a very simple reason, Newton's law, which says that whatever goes up must come down, meaning that if you put your Oreo cookies in the top, they're going to fall to the bottom third, no matter what you do, because of gravity. So we took the barrel and we turned it sideways, like that, so that all the product will mix nice and easily, and it will come out, flow out of the machine very quickly. And that brings us to today's machine, which is a horizontal cylinder. Instead of rock salt and ice or chilled water, we went in the late 1920s to ammonia gas. That was a source of refrigerant. You could always tell if you had a leak in an ammonia plant because all your employees were dead, which is not really a great way to run a business. Then Freon came along, DuPont Freon, and we've gone through the years. We have fancy terms for the same old stuff. We now call it an environmentally friendly propellant. That's a fancy name for Freon. But the gas is Freon 404A. It's used throughout the world. It's in your refrigerators. It's in your cars. It is friendly to the environment. It's a great product. The only close second to Freon 404A is a product made in Germany, but it has a slight problem to it. It's explosive. So when you go to load it into a car or into a refrigerator, it can blow up. So DuPont has a nice lock on that business, and it's what we all use in refrigeration. You'll hear it a lot, Freon 404A. We have a lot of people tuning in around the world. We have Sampong over in Bangkok with Flymar Limited. We have Greg Briggs over in Australia. We have people tuning in, I know, in England today, all different hours around the world. As you're tuning in and you have questions, type them into Ken, and he'll relay them to me, and we can go on from there. We do have a celebrity in the audience today. I wanted to show you this. Scott Wilkinson is here from New York, and Scott holds the Guinness World Record for the world's largest cannoli. And he's now going into the Italian ice and ice cream business, but there it is. Can you see that, Ken? Nice and close. That's the world's largest cannoli. What'd that weigh, Scott?
7 feet, 123 pounds.
7 feet, 123 pounds. That would even satisfy my appetite. That's pretty neat. I'll pass that around so you can all see that. So as you're listening in today, just call in with your questions and we'll get going from there. We have an outline up on the internet as well as all the different formulas we're going to do. We're going to start with a really basic product, but it's the key to Italian ice. It's what I call my world's best lemon ice formula. And we're going to use the CB350 countertop machine. That's this one here. This makes 6 quarts in, for ices, about 16 minutes. Ices take longer than ice cream. The higher the sugar content, oh, and by the way, you'll see Sadie go by. She's head of security. She's been with me since we were in the Bronx, New York, and she keeps a good eye on everything. She also likes ice cream, and eventually Paula will come and throw her out, but she's a part of the fabric of the company. The CB350 makes 6 quarts of ice cream, or 6 quarts of Italian ice, or 6 quarts of gelato, virtually anything you want to freeze. Now, the first thing we want to do is sanitize the machine. That means we want to kill off any bacteria that was in the machine that may have grown overnight. And the simplest way to sanitize the machine is with a chlorine-based product. It would be very simple, no problem, to use Clorox bleach. Or a similar bleach. And once in a while you get into a health inspector, he goes, oh my gosh, you're using Clorox in your machine? Well, in my younger days I used to try to challenge him, and I'd say, well, what do you think you put in your swimming pool? Chlorine. Well, that doesn't work. So what I do is, let me bring that product back. I keep a commercial product around and I use it. And this is a good one. This is by Purdy Products, P-U-R-D-Y. It's called Stera, S-T-E-R-A, Sheen, S-H-E-E-N, Stera Sheen Green Label. And if you read and follow the directions, which you'll see today I'm not very good at, I don't follow directions. If you mix this properly with the proper amount of water, there's no rinse required afterwards, and it's going to kill off any bacteria in the machine. So we're going to kill off, we're going to do that. We're going to kill off any bacteria. I've put some Sterasheen in here. If you, in a pinch, and you can't get Sterasheen, you can use a cap, not a cup. You can use a cap full of Clorox bleach to a gallon of water. There is a cap. Just fill that with some Clorox bleach, a gallon of water, and you've got a perfect way to kill off bacteria. Once you kill off the bacteria in the machine, you don't have to sanitize again. You don't sanitize between batches. You don't have to sanitize if you go away from the machine for 10 minutes. You're good for as many hours as you want to run. A quick story, I was doing one of these seminars once, and I was talking to the studio audience, and something's leaking. Always check your machine, make sure you tightened everything. Nope, I didn't tighten the front door. Murphy's Law. I'm talking to a crowd, an audience like this, and you ever go to a cocktail party and the person you're talking to is looking right through you? It's like they're looking to see who might be better coming through the door that would be more fun to talk to than you. Well, I had a whole audience of people staring right through me, but I had the cameras on, and so I had to keep talking. And I had sterilized the machine, and we'd made a couple of products, and so I finished talking what I was talking about, and I turned back to the machine. I say, okay, now we're going to make some ice cream. And I get ready to pour it in. The lady in the audience raises her hand and says, no, you had to re-sanitize the machine. I said, well, no, don't you remember what I said, that as long as you don't open the door and put hands in or take an hour lunch break, you don't have to re-sanitize? And she said, no, you don't understand. While you're out here talking to us, Sadie's over there licking the entire face of the machine of the ice cream that you just made. So we did have to re-sanitize in that case. So I've got the sanitizer in there, and there's 2 switches on the machine. One gets it spinning, that's called the beater, and we'll turn that on. And the other is the refrigeration. The refrigeration gets the walls cold almost instantly. Now, since I just have water in there, if I turn on the refrigeration now, it's going to make one giant ice cube, and I don't want that, so I leave the refrigeration off. When we make ice cream or ices and it's ready to come out of the machine, or gelato, we'll turn off the refrigeration. We don't want it to, say, like in oven terms, cook any further. We turn off the refrigeration, leave it spinning so that that semi-soft product will push out of the machine as fast as we can. the ice cream or the sorbet or the gelato is relatively thick, so that will help push it out. Now, I just have water in here right now. If I open this gate with that spinning, I'm going to get a bath because water is so loose, it'll just come out everywhere. So once that's sanitized, you turn it off and you open it up. Now, I'm going to keep this bucket off to the side because I like to have it that anything that's going to come in contact with the ice cream, a spatula, or even my hands if I'm throwing in some cookies, I can dip it in here and my hands are now more sanitary than they were. I suppose you could wear gloves, but in the real world that just doesn't happen that much. But if you had any cuts or anything, I would certainly suggest it. Now the barrel is tilted slightly forward. Even when the machine's on level ground, the barrel has a slight tilt forward, so it's going to drain everything out. And if I had followed the instructions, I would now be able to go make ice cream right away. But I didn't follow the instructions. I just threw stuff in there, so I'm going to put another rinse through. And since I left that gate open, I've got some water on the floor I want to mop up before I slip. And let me get some water over here and we'll just run a quick rinse and then we'll be able to make ice cream. And again, if I don't open the machine, I can run for the next 8, 10, 15, 24 hours non-stop without having to re-sanitize. When we make the Italian ice, one question that often comes up. Did you have a question?
To get rid of any chlorine paste or anything that might go into the product, your first product that you're going to make?
If you follow the directions for the Sanitation or the cap full of Clorox to a gallon of water, there won't be enough residue left in there to cause any problems. You don't have to rinse out. I once had a health inspector, and I think you'll find out I don't like health inspectors. I would like them if they knew what they were talking about, but the ones that don't, it's just, it's like talking to motor vehicles. I once had a health inspector tell me that by my now pouring this water into the machine, I am recontaminating the machine. And I said, you got to be kidding. What do you think my lemon ice is made out of? It's made out of tap water. It can't get any more sanitary than the water that we're using. Now, in New York, where we were from, in the Bronx, we had probably the best water in the world, I think. But the filtration system started upstate in Poughkeepsie, and it began with a series of large wire fences in the reservoir. That was to catch the dead bodies and the tires before it got further downstream. And then it went through very little filtering process since then. So your water supply, your sanitary or sterility is only as good as your supply of water. One question that comes up about water is, do I need to filter the water before I make Italian ice? The water here in Brooksville, Florida, and probably the worst water on earth, Fort Myers, Florida, where Paula and I and Sadie will go on vacation, the water is absolutely horrible. I mean, it's almost undrinkable. So the question comes up, if I'm opening up an Italian ice business in Fort Myers, Florida, or let's use Brooksville, because there's nobody here but us residents. If I'm making Italian ice and selling it in Brooksville, Florida, do I need to get a Culligan water system and sanitize or neutralize the water, take the minerals out? I think the answer is no, because here in Brooksville there are no tourists. The only people I'm going to sell this product to are residents of Brooksville. They've been here all their lives. They've been drinking the water all their lives. They don't know the water is bad. So there's no reason to change it. It's a taste they're used to. Now, if I open up in Miami, everybody in Miami is from New York City. So I do have to filter the water in Miami because it's got to taste like New York, or it's got to taste like Ohio or Oregon. It's got to taste what they're used to. So if you're in a tourist area and your water's bad, you want to get a Culligan system or a GE system to filter the water, to take the minerals out before you go running it through. But since today I'm going to use just plain tap water. So looking at the formula, let's see, we're going to use 3 quarts of water. So let me get going on that. Now, everything I'm going to make, does the camera come over here, Ken? Everything, almost everything I'm going to make today, I tried to buy at the supermarket. Our big supermarket chain here in Florida is called Publix. So they sell liquor, they sell everything else that you could possibly need. I try to buy everything locally just so I can show you. You don't need any secret formulas. I mean, when I say secret lemon ice formula, that's just for hype. There's nothing secret about it until you go to try to find it out from anyone else, and then they'll tell you, oh, you can't make this. It's a secret that's been passed down from generation to generation, and my great-grandfather bought it over from Genoa, Italy. Well, every time I hear that, I start to laugh because I say, I'm your great-grandfather from Genoa, Italy, and I've never been to Genoa, and you might notice I'm not Italian. So it's a lot of hype. But I try to make everything today so you'll see just how easy it is. In fact, you'll see me make mistakes. I'll forget stuff. And you'll never know if it's really that it was an accident. This is covering myself. Whether it's an accident or I did it on purpose so that you in the audience and out watching on the internet saying, well, gee, if that idiot can make this product, imagine what I could do. And that's what I'm trying to show you is it really is that simple. So I've got my 3 quarts of water. We squeezed some fresh lemon juice yesterday, 8 ounces of lemon juice, a couple of ounces of fresh orange juice, and this product, and the sugar. Let me get the sugar. When this product comes out of the machine, it's going to be pure white because it has no chemicals in it, it has no artificial colors. It's going to be pure white, and we're going to throw in what the chef calls the zest of the lemon, where you take a Parmesan cheese grater and just grate the outside skin off so you have little specks of lemon. They really don't do much for the taste, but it looks fantastic. A pure white product with a little specks of lemon in it. So I've got, as you can see, just plain old lemons. There's no special thing about lemons. I think Florida makes the world's best orange juice. I think California makes the best lemons. There is some difference there. Lemons, sugar. Sugar, you're going to see, dissolves very nicely in cold water. You don't have to go buy any kind of fancy bar sugar. You sure don't have to go buy a brand name like Domino. I bought Publix. My criteria for buying sugar is the cheapest stuff I can find. And oftentimes, the supermarkets will run sugar as what they call a loss leader, meaning that they're trying to get you into the store to buy $100 worth of other, groceries, Fruit Loops and coffee and stuff like that, and they put sugar on sale, 5-pound bag for $1. They hate it when they do that because I walk in, I buy 300 pounds of 5-pound bags. I just wipe out the place. But the point is you buy sugar wherever you can, and it doesn't matter the kind of sugar. So let me turn on my fancy digital scale here. This is a 2-pound bag, which is an expensive way to buy sugar, but it's convenient for the seminar here. And when you really get into the business, maybe you'll be buying 100-pound bags, but be careful. Sometimes the 100-pound bags aren't as cheap as the 5 or 10-pound bags in the supermarket. That's 1 pound in there. I'm going to show you a trick that a chef taught me. That's half, a little more. I was watching a chef do a live demonstration, and this is just for your friends. It'll just blow them away, and it's just so corny. They're pouring the sugar into whatever they're making, and instead of measuring, he knows his recipe calls for 2 pounds, or 1 pound and 3/4, and we got a 2-pound bag. So he pours in most of the stuff. He looks at the bag. He goes like this, and you can see the brains. The wheels are turning. He's thinking, ah. And he looks at it, and he looks at the product, and he goes, okay. And you actually believe him. You really think that he is intelligent enough that he can tell that much. No, it's all for hype. But it looks like fun. So we got the sugar in there, and again, it's in cold water with a spatula. It will dissolve very quickly, and then we'll pour that into the machine. I don't want to dump the sugar into the machine because sugar is very abrasive. Any questions so far? Has our audience in New Zealand woken up yet? Okay.
What is the average preparation, production, and cleanup time between batches of water ice?
The time between batches of water ice. Today, when we're making different products, we're going to pour it in, we're going to stand here, and when you get a brand new machine, you kind of stand here and you look at it. If you ever bought a new washing machine, you just stand there and watch the washing machine work. It's embarrassing, but we all do it, you know, brand new. In fact, what we should be doing in production is we've got our list of flavors starting from light to dark, so that I'm making lemon first, and then I'm going to make orange. Any small amount, it's only about 2 ounces, left in the machine. The lemon will mix with the orange. They're both citric fruits. It'll cover over, and you do your next batch. Then you do maybe strawberry, which is also a fruit. That'll cover over the sweeter orange. And then maybe you do Bordeaux cherry, and then black raspberry, so you're not rinsing the machine out. If you're going to go from chocolate ice to vanilla, chocolate ice to lemon ice, you've made a mistake. You should be making chocolate ice last. So while that's producing, we're over here getting our mixture ready for the next batch. So if an average batch on a bigger machine is going to take about 16, 18 minutes, we'll dump it out of here in 30 seconds. We'll get it into the freezer. So I'd say the whole time between batches is 20 minutes. At the 20-minute mark, you should have your second batch mixed up, ready and loaded and ready to go. So there isn't a lot of time. All right, so we've got the sugar and water, and always check that the gate is closed. I found that if you raise the bucket up instead of resting it on the lip, you're less likely to spill. My friend Malcolm Stogo always chastises me for not having a bucket underneath to catch the product, and I always tell Malcolm I only have one working eye, and I'm still not going to spill a drop. So watch what I do today. It'll be terrible. So we've got the sugar, the water. We need the lemon juice and the grated. Okay, this is the lemon juice. This is fresh squeezed lemon juice. We left in the pulp. We even left in the seeds. Nothing wrong with spitting out a seed once in a while. It certainly tells you it's fresh, doesn't it? And so that goes in. Oh, we left most of the seeds behind. Another secret ingredient, a little bit of orange juice. And that's it. We're going to turn this on. I'll turn this on, then explain what I'm doing. We're going to take that to full speed, turn that on, and I'm going to set one of these 2 very cheesy timers. Now, yes, question? No, it wasn't concentrated. We bought a juicer and just squeezed lemons. The concentrated juices, like you'll see in the supermarket, real brand reconstituted lemon juice, they have a terrible aftertaste. It just really gets you. It's not good at all. If you're going into a high production, if you talk to a bakery supply business, the ones that sell the 100-pound bags of flour or sugar to a pastry shop, they also have 5-gallon pails of lemon juice, fresh lemon juice, all squeezed, pulp in it. It's delivered refrigerated, and you just ladle out how much you need and pour it in. It just couldn't be simpler. There's different levels of this Italian ice. If you're on Bay 8th Street in Brooklyn, which is 100% Italian, you better be using fresh lemon juice because they know lemon ice better than anybody in the world. If you're making it out in Chicago, you can use a product called a base. Let's see if here's a lemon base. All right. This is one step down from fresh, and this is what I use when I'm making, say, mango or green apple, something that's not convenient to get in the supermarket. This would happen to be a lemon base. This has got lemon juice in it, sugar, and water, and I can just pour the proper amount in here, and that's going to make a great quality product for Chicago. If I'm in Dubuque, Iowa, and Dubuque doesn't even know what an Italian is, and sorry Dubuque if you're listening in, I'm going to buy an extract. An extract is really cheap. This is like if you bake a cake, you're going to put a couple of ounces of vanilla extract into your cake. If I wanted to make a very inexpensive lemon ice, I could use a lemon extract and do the same job. But let me tell you about the cost. That's important. If I use fresh squeezed lemons, my cost is going to be $0.015 per ounce, food cost. So that means that 4-ounce portion, and after all, 4 ounces is a quarter pound, thanks to McDonald's. 4 ounces, yeah, a big quarter pounder, 4 ounces, big deal. A 4-ounce portion, which is a big single scoop, using fresh lemons is going to cost you 6 cents. And you're going to sell that 6 cents portion for $1.50. Let me show you what a 6 cents portion looks like. It looks like that. That crowned over is costing you 6 cents, and you're selling for $1.50 or $2. That's a tremendous profit margin. If I use the base, the lemon base, that's going to drop my cost down to a penny an ounce, or 4 cents. 4 cents to make that. And if I use an extract like that, it's going to cost a ½ cent an ounce, 2 cents to make that portion. I got a guy up in Rhode Island, I won't tell you who he is because I don't want to have a Lincoln Town Car with a big trunk showing up at my house. But this guy, if he could use artificial water, he would. And he uses corn syrup instead of cane sugar because it's maybe 3 cents cheaper. He uses an extract, but he then takes about 6 lemons and just cuts them into chunks and throws them into the machine. You go to scoop the product, you've got, you know, more chemicals than Dow Chemical has in this one cup, but it's got a piece of lemon sticking out of it, which you cannot eat. Lemon is not edible. But the customer looks at it and says, oh, wow, that's fresh. Look at the lemon. You know, all marketing. But, you know, the food cost on this product is so incredibly low. I have another customer in New Jersey who, talking about the money, you're buying the sugar. Now, the cameras are, no, the camera's on, isn't it? Oh well, the IRS decided to do an audit on this guy, and because he wasn't paying any federal tax, like 59% or 49% of the rest of the country, and so he's buying his sugar from about 10 different sources. Water's just coming out of the tap. The extract, a gallon jug, is going to last you probably a whole summer. And I'm not kidding, the guy walks in wearing a Rolex watch to an audit of his business, of which he's selling this product and making $2 a scoop. And after about 20 minutes with the auditor, he turns to him and says, could you please hurry this up? My driver's waiting for me. The moral of the story is pay the government something. It's not like a manufacturing business where every piece of steel is accounted for. Lemon ice business, it's a cash business, but pay the government something. Also, for you in pricing the product, women, and this is going to get me in trouble, women carry change purses. And they stand in line at the supermarket, and if something is 96 cents, they pull out 96 cents to pay for it. A man pulls out $1 and says, keep the change, I'm in a hurry. It's just the cultural difference between us. I would price your product, raise it up to the nearest quarter or dime or whatever. If you think your product costs $1.10, make it $1. If it costs $1.15, make it $1.25. Because people don't want to stand there when there's a long line to buy your lemon ice with you doling out a lot of change. Plus, you got to get this change from somewhere. Wait, when you go into business and find out that everybody like me pays with a $20 bill so they can have $19 in ones for later use, you're going to be going back and forth to the bank all the time. So round your product up. Include the tax in it. If your price is $1.17, make it $1.25. People will thank you for it, so they're not carrying around a whole bunch of pennies. I'm just keeping an eye on this. Let me get a sip here. A little thing on my machines. My wife says that I like to own every gadget on earth. It takes me about 10 minutes to get through my own security system to get into my house. You know, I smile at the cameras and have to work the locks and the, you know, the fingerprints and all this stuff. But I don't put that junk on my machines. Gadgets break. There's one gadget that is not on this machine, and that's a timer. Here's a $6 timer that I bought at the hardware store. If I put that $6 timer on that machine, this door and everything on here is stainless steel. That's a cast stainless steel door. It's hand polished here at the factory. It's manufactured here. It's machined. It's then polished. It'll stay like this for the next 100 years. It's a beautiful piece of work, and you'll see it on all our machinery and our dashers too. But to put that timer on there, this timer has to meet National Sanitation Foundation standards for sanitary. It has to meet Underwriters Laboratories standards for electrical. Most people who put timers on the machine, it ties into their system to shut off the condensing unit or compressor. That's what makes the machine cold. So if that timer goes bad, your whole machine goes down. So now to replace that timer to meet those standards, that timer is $250 on the machine. It's probably another $125 for you to get a refrigeration man in or our authorized service to get in, and that's going to cost you another $125. So you got all that money tied into something that costs $6. And you know what happens when that $6 timer breaks for me? I throw it out and I go buy another $6 timer. Plus, if you really want to get fancy, this sounds like those, you know, commercials, you know, for the magic pan with the diamonds in it. It's portable. You can carry this with you so that if I'm in my office and I'm talking to you on the phone, I've got my timer right with me telling me, oh, the ice is ready, I got to get back to it. And I don't set it for how much time I think the ice is going to take. I set it for something less so that when I'm talking to you, or as I said before, I'm getting my flavors all ready and mixed up, I can hear the timer go off and go, oh, I know I got a couple of minutes to get back and check the machine. So that's why no timer. Another person said, why isn't there a nice little hose here for washing, like Capajani and Taylor and Electrofreeze and Stolting do? Well, for a very simple reason. The hose only extends out that far. You can't clean anything except the spout with the hose that goes that far, and it only has cold water. So if you ever take dairy product and smear it on the floor or spill dairy product anywhere, it's like spreading butter on your floor. It's slippery as can be, and the only way to cut through it is hot water. So that cold water faucet here does you no good whatsoever. I'd rather have on the wall a hose reel that's hot and cold, and I can come over here with a car wash nozzle and just spray everything and spray it in here with hot water. Makes the job really simple. So there aren't gadgets on here for an absolute purpose. Now, one thing that is on here is something I designed 11 years ago and nobody else has. Since I didn't patent it in time, it turns out that once you design something, and we were so excited about it, once you ship it across state lines, you cannot patent it. So I had already shipped hundreds of these before I decided to patent it and then couldn't, but it's exclusive to us. It's a speed control. It allows me to raise and lower the speed of the machine, and what that does is it changes the air content of the ice cream. The only difference between American ice cream and gelato is the amount of air in the product. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. I just want to check this product. That's beautiful. I'm going to turn off the refrigeration and watch how fast that comes out. And once that's out, then we'll go on to, I'm going to have you all taste it, and then we're going to go on to our next batch. Now, in New York, we call that lemon ice. In fact, New York, in an Italian neighborhood, it's almost like the term like a thermos bottle or a Kleenex. They walk into a store and they say, give me a cherry lemon ice. Give me a grape lemon ice. That's how ingrained it is in New York. Down in Philadelphia, they call it water ice. So it would be a lemon water ice. I had 5 Greek brothers leave Brooklyn and go down to Birmingham, Alabama. And since they were the only Greeks in Birmingham, and they had the Italian ice formulas, they called it Greek ice. You can call it anything you want. Bubby's out in Hawaii calls it Hawaiian ice. It can be any name you want it to be. Now, that's Italian ice, but look, let me show you some other things that this is that you didn't even know. That's my Italian ice. And we sell it in New York. It's a nice way of doing it, in a squeeze cup. Now, if you go to a paper supply house and you ask them for squeeze cups anywhere in the United States except New York City, they're going to look at you like a deer in the headlights. That is known as a pleated, like a lady's dress, a pleated water cup. That's what it's called. Ask for a pleated water cup and you'll get lemon ice cups. And what we do is we fill it in and we top it off and then we squeeze it out. That's pretty good. And that's how we serve Italian ice. Now watch this. I go to Universal Studios, Disney, Six Flags, and I sell them machines to make frozen lemonade. And they make a lot of money off our machines. There is frozen lemonade with a spoon. Same formula, just different container. They might even pull it a little bit softer. You spent $60 to get into SeaWorld with the kids. And at 2 in the afternoon, the kids are hot and they're tired and they're cranky. And Dad's saying, I spent $60 on each of you and you want to go home? Well, he then buys you all a lemon ice. And this stuff's so cold, it's going to take you, a child, about 10 minutes to eat this. So you say, here, go sit under that tree and eat that while I go get a beer. And so the whole family's happy. Dad's got a beer. The kids have the ice, and it's sugar and water. It's going to refresh them, and the day continues on. So that's frozen lemonade. Same product. Now, I go into the fancy French restaurant. Yeah, I know. I go into the fancy French restaurant, and I charge, and that cup was probably $1.50. This I can easily get $2 or $3, $2.50 or $3 for. Now I'm going to get $4.50 for a light dessert after dinner, and there is lemon sorbet. Same stuff, fancy name. The only thing is the price. And that's what a chef loves to have, and that's where you can do a really great wholesale business, is selling sorbet to small restaurants who the owner doesn't want to buy a $9,500 machine. So with just that one product, we made all these different things. So if you'll come up here, I'll give you a taste of this. Come on up. Everybody come up, and we'll have some lemon ice. Now, it's easy enough. Oh, and people ask about Richard's here. It's easy enough to change this formula. If you wanted help yourself to the spoons as we go around. If you want a smoother product, you add a little bit more sugar. The sugar content is what determines the smoothness, not the machinery. If I'm, again, on Bay 8th Street in Brooklyn, they sell a product that they call Granita or Granite, and it's only 5 pounds of sugar in a bigger machine. It's a very coarse product. A regular New York ice is about 7 pounds of sugar, and down in Philadelphia they like it even smoother, and that's 8 pounds of sugar. We're also going to make a product later today called a cream ice or a creamolata that Ralph's in Staten Island is famous for, and that is going to be an Italian ice with the addition of a little cream. So there's all these different things you can do with just sugar water. How is that? You can always add more lemon if you want more lemon taste, or sugar, again, if you want it smoother. But basically, that's the raw ingredients: sugar, water, and lemon juice.
This doesn't have the rind in it, though, does it? This one doesn't have the rind in it, the lemon rind?
No, I didn't put lemon. Well, it has the little
Oh,
flakes.
it does have the flakes. I didn't see
Yeah,
that, no.
they're in there. It's just hard to see. There you go. But see, that's a nice color, and you saw me make that. That's all natural. That was just the sugar, water, and lemon juice. Now, there are a couple of sidebars on Italian ice before we move on. There's a very good company that makes the base. Like I said, if you want mango or green apple or papaya, you use a base because it's just not convenient, you know, in the state of Washington to find, you know, fresh papayas all the time. So we use the gallon jug of flavor. Here's a product, though, that you don't need. And, you know, every company is trying to sell stuff, so, you know, I'll grant them that. But this is called a sorbet base. Again, sorbet, Italian ice, same stuff. What this is sugar and water and some chemicals. That's all that's in here, sugar and water. Why do you need to ship sugar and water halfway across or all the way across the United States with the high trucking costs when you've got sugar at the supermarket and you've got water at the tap? So you don't need sorbet base. The best preservative for Italian ice or sorbet is cold. We pulled this product out at about 18 degrees. We would probably serve it at 16 degrees above zero. If I wanted to keep it for months on end, I would take it down to 0 degrees. It'll become hard as a rock, and the flavor will hold up, and it'll just be a perfectly fine product. You can keep it for months on end. If you were going to have it in a restaurant where you knew they were going to be, it's a kind of a slow business, and they were going to be maybe a couple of weeks going through a tub of lemon ice, you can use a stabilizer. This is one from a company called Main Street Ingredients. And Main Street Ingredients is in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and they call this Keystone 9100 sorbet stabilizer. And you're actually only going to use a few grams of this to a whole batch. And this is an all-natural product. It's nothing more than guar gum and carrageenan, so it's seaweed and a gum. And that works out very well. But it's not necessary in your product. So that's Italian ice for the lemon ice. And we're going to move on now and make just an old-fashioned hard ice cream. This is a recipe that I did, that I do at Penn State. Question? Yes, the stabilizer reduces the amount of crystallization.
But without that, though, if you're keeping it at 0 temperature, how long can you expect to keep it and not have that problem occur, basically, as long as you keep it at 0 temperature?
I'll tell you a quick story about that. I'll be right with you. I had a lady who was, she was in New Jersey, and she had a tub of bubblegum licorice Italian ice. And she made it in September, and she called me in May, and she said, I got this bubblegum licorice Italian ice. It's in my freezer. It's at 30 below zero. Is it any good? And my answer was, yes, ma'am. It's as good as the day you made it back in September because you've got it at such a super cold temperature. But the fact that it's been sitting in your freezer since last September, and you're asking me, is it any good? The real answer is no, it's no good. It's such a lousy flavor, nobody will buy bubblegum licorice Italian ice. Throw it out and learn from the lesson. You know, you have terrible taste buds. So you can keep the product as long as you want. You will see some products that are, the flavor has dropped to the bottom of the can, and they're sticky down there. That's usually some of my commercial customers. Over 90% of all Italian ice in the world is made on Emery Thompson batch freezers, and virtually 100% of the commercial people, because when you're running a machine, you're literally making something the consistency of wet cement. So you need a cement mixer, and that's what we build, is 45-year lifespan cement mixers. But when you see the product bleeding to the bottom, as diesel prices go up, the frozen food people have more and more of a problem. Big companies solve the problem with electronics. Smaller companies can't do anything. The problem is it costs a lot of diesel fuel to run that reefer truck, the freezer truck. So the guy's got a load of green beans already frozen, and he's got your Italian ice, and he's up in New Jersey, and he's bringing it down here to Florida. Well, if he turns off the reefer unit for 3, 4, 5 hours, so the green beans get a little soft. I mean, they melt a little bit. Big deal. He turns the reefer back on as he comes into Jacksonville, heading for Orlando or Brooksville, and everything freezes back up and nobody's the wiser, and he's saved some fuel oil. But your Italian ice was also turned off too, and it warmed up. and the flavor, it didn't completely melt, but it warmed up, and your flavor dropped to the bottom of the can, and then he turns the reefer back on, it freezes back up, and you go to serve it because you've bought a huge inventory, and you see it, 3 weeks later, and you got that much of thick, gooey, cheap sugars and stabilizers in the bottom of the container. If you get the product and keep it cold, you don't have any of those problems. You had a question?
How many ounces of the stabilizer we need to put into the rest?
Oh, let's see. It's the amount of stabilizer is very small.
Just for the cutting ice, or we can use another?
Oh no, you can. Well, you use it in any of the sugar water products. There's an ice cream one by the same company. We use 4 grams to a little batch like that. 4 grams is just nothing. You have a 5-pound bag of this stuff, it's going to last you a year and a half. So it goes a long way. Let me get this machine up and running. I can show you what our machine looks like. This one's open. These are a new dasher system. Well, not that new. We've had them for a number of years. But they are now spring-loaded. It always used to be that our blades would last you about 6 years with our old style, and we could resharpen them. Now that we've gone to this style with the spring-loaded, we expect these blades could last much, much longer than 6 years. And they don't need resharpening because since they're spring-loaded, as the blades wear, the springs still throw them against the walls and make a nice clean scrape. So that just goes in there. Very simple machine. And I just double check that it's in. We use 4 knobs to close the door. People have always said, oh, why don't you have the fancy Italian system, which is every other machine, where you have the cam lock? Well, if something isn't on my machine, it's for a good reason, because I don't do anything to cheapen my machines. It's a lot cheaper to make a cam lock than to have 4 of these stainless steel knobs and studs. The cam action breaks after about 5 years, and then if they still sell the parts, you've got to replace the door. Oftentimes they don't. With these 4 knobs, one of them would hold the door just fine. But with the 4, we have a nice positive lock. The discharge gate here is very big. We do have a guard for this unit. I took it off for the moment. That's exactly like this so that it doesn't interfere with the product coming out. All the other machines have bars. It looks like you're in prison, and you can't get the product out. With our extended guards, and why they don't copy us, I have no idea, but bless them that they don't. With our guards, everything still comes out of the machine unrestricted, but you won't put your hands in it. If you're putting your hands into a spinning machine, you shouldn't be in the ice business. You shouldn't be in the ice cream business. But then again, we had a guy down here. We're big on guns down here. In New York, I could never own a gun. In fact, I was afraid to look at a page of paper that had a gun on it. It's just the culture of New York. Well, down here, everybody has guns. We all go out to the range and shoot, and it's a wonderful hobby. Well, this guy had his grandchildren coming over, so he didn't want to risk them getting in their hands on his .357 Magnum. So he took his .357 Magnum, which happened to be loaded, and put it in the oven because the kids aren't going to look in the oven. And then the kids want pizza. So he turns the oven on. All of a sudden, the gun starts firing. What does he do? He opens up the oven. The gun's in there firing. He grabs it without an oven mitt and, of course, burns his hand and shoots himself. He survived, but the moral of the story is, why would you go putting your hands into a batch freezer? But we protect you. We've got guards here, and we've got a guard there. So we're going to sanitize this machine. We'll run this through. And this will, since I had my hands in there, that'll kill off any bacteria in there. Let me get some on that guard. You know what? I told you I was going to make mistakes. And one lady in the audience asked me as she was picking up her ice, she said, I don't see the zest in there. And I said, oh, it's in there. Well, guess what? It wasn't. I forgot to put it in. Anyway, that's what would have been in the lemon ice to give it nice little specks. You're absolutely right. It was good. This doesn't add to the taste. It just adds to the looks. But all that work, Scott did this yesterday, and now I don't know what we're going to do with it. So be prepared to make mistakes. I'll tell you one mistake not to make, and that is don't have any chemicals in your ice cream room. If you're using something to clean the machines, the stainless steel or the floor, use it and then put it in a locked cabinet or take it out of the room. There's a product, it's a cheaper way of making Italian ice. Instead of using more lemon juice or more extract, you can use a product called citric acid. It's also used to cut cocaine, heroin, so you can't buy it as easily as you used to. But citric acid makes things more tart. The problem is if you've ever had a cheap ice, like one of our customers, Marino's in New York, you eat it, and he's going to send a town car for me. Your throat starts to close up like this. So that's the citric acid attacking your throat. It makes your throat close. Citric acid comes in a gallon jug like this, and it's clear. Clorox bleach comes in a gallon jug. I don't want to wake up at 2 in the morning and say, oh my gosh, did I put 2 ounces of citric acid in my lemon ice or 2 ounces of Clorox bleach? I mean, that's just a terrible nightmare. So the way around that is when you use the Clorox bleach, take it out of the room, put it in the lock cabinet, make it disappear so that you don't have to wake up in the morning and wonder which product you did. We're going to turn this on and let it spin. Again, same controls, the infinite overrun. What this does for us, if you're doing just Italian ices, you don't need the infinite overrun control. You're running at full speed, 231 or 232 revolutions per minute. That's how fast it's spinning. Imagine, though, you've got a bowl, and in that bowl you pour in some heavy cream, and you stir it with a whisk. It remains heavy cream because you're not stirring very fast. If you take an electric mixer and put it in there and spin it really fast, it turns into whipped cream. Same concept here with ice cream. Dairy product blows up. It takes on air. Air is a good thing. Without air, all ice cream would taste like lead. American-style ice creams, homemade ice creams, have a moderate to high amount of air. They also have a lot of flavor and a lot of high fat, 16%, 14%. So we want the air in it. So we run the machine at full speed. If we want to make a heavier homemade ice cream, we take it from 234 and bring it down to maybe 180 revolutions per minute. Now you can hear it's spinning slower. It's going to put less air in. If I want to make Haagen-Dazs, and by the way, we put Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry into business with our machines, along with Breyers, Hershey, Bluebell, you name it, it's us. 150, I'm going to make a Haagen-Dazs style product. Gelato, I take it to 130, much, much slower. Gelato is nothing more than a low-fat ice cream with very little air in it and Italian flavorings. Instead of Oreo cookie and mint chip and mousse tracks, it's Zabione, tiramisu, hazelnut. That's the only difference. So this is the only machine on earth where you can adjust the speed to the different products. Now you say, well, big deal, Steve. I mean, how do you go inventing something as basic as that? I got a rheostat in my dining room. I dim down the lights. It's slowing down the power to the light bulb. When you dim down the lights in your dining room, you are reducing the amount of electricity to the light bulb. You're making the 60-watt light bulb less efficient. If you just put a rheostat on here and dim it down, you're taking a 3-horsepower motor and dimming it down to a 1/4 horse. That's not enough power to pull through the product you're making. But with my invention, we are able to keep that motor running at maximum what they call torque, full pulling power. So whether I'm at 125 or all the way up at 234, I'm still getting the maximum 3 horsepower out of that motor. So that's what makes it so unique and why you only need one machine to do all those different products. Now when that drains out, I'll just throw in another quick rinse. That's good. Yes.
What's something that would give the lemon ice some bite?
I'm tasting it. We could use a little more lemon juice. Yep, that's all.
Go ahead. No, if you were making the regular Italian ice, the strawberry, cherry,
Yeah.
these are the bases. If you were to add fruit to it, would you use less mix, less flavor?
If you're going to make an ice like a strawberry, a couple of things are happening. You're getting fructose from the strawberries. So that's an addition of sugar. So if my formula in this machine was, say, 7 pounds of sugar for lemon, and I'm making strawberry ice, I might only use 3 pounds of sugar because I'm picking up the extra sugar from the strawberries. So you just adjust the formula to that way. If you're using fresh fruit, it depends on the season. Right now, strawberries are fantastic. In December, when they're coming up from Peru, they don't have a lot of taste. So you just have to taste them and see how strong is it. I would probably bolster a strawberry with a strawberry extract just to give it a little more punch. But I love using fresh fruit. And you're going to see us adding to this product, this ice cream, the idea of adding right into the machine. Now I have to go off camera for a minute and get the dairy product, and I'll be right back. About what goes into ice cream and gelato. There's a real balancing act here. Ice cream consists of whole milk, heavy cream, something as sugar. You've seen sugar before. Whole milk, cream, sugar, and something you wouldn't know to put in, skim milk. Skim milk which I have over here. So milk, cream, sugar, and skim milk. Skim milk, you can see it's a much lighter color than heavy cream. This is heavy cream. This skim milk is heavy cream with all the fat removed. We call this, in technical terms, milk solids, not fat. It means that the milk solids are still in here, the stuff that makes it heavy cream, but the fat's been removed. So this is a secret ingredient in ice creams that aren't going to be in many ice cream books for your home use, is the skim milk. The skim milk is adding a lot of good stuff without increasing the fat content. So I can go to the, theoretically, and if you're at home, you can do this. You can go to the grocery store, and this milk and this cream has been taken out of the cow. It's been pasteurized, meaning it's been taken up to 160 degrees and held for a certain amount of time to kill off bacteria. It's been pasteurized. It's then been homogenized, meaning it's blown through a series of screens to break down the fat globules and make them smaller. And you can buy it at the supermarket. You don't have to have a cow in the backyard. You go to a professional, the supermarket, to get this product that came from a dairy. That's a little inconvenient when you get into the ice cream business because you're dealing in so much of it. And believe me, you're going to pay premium prices buying heavy cream at the supermarket. And if you think you're going to get heavy cream wholesale at a reduced price, you're not, because cows make a lot more of this than they do of this. And so the dairies always get a premium for this. So instead of doing that, what we do in the United States is we go to the same dairy that's producing the milk that came out of the cow yesterday, and we ask for something which has got a terrible term. We call it mix. Well, I hate the term mix because it sounds like it's this. When I think of mix, I think of this powder. This is non-fat dried milk. To me, that's a mix. Well, that's not what we mean in the dairy industry. What we mean is the dairy has taken a blend of milk, cream, sugar, and skim milk and combined it together and is sold by percentage of fat. My old friend Tom Carvel used to call it, he used to say, oh, we only use the best butter in our ice cream. Well, there's no butter in ice cream, but the terminology, we're like Ken, our sound man there, he deals in bits and bauds and bytes and terms I don't understand with computers. We call this combination of ingredients, we rate it by butter fat. There's no butter in there, but we call it butter fat. Federal government says if you want to call this ice cream, it must be at least 10% butter fat. Haagen-Dazs is at 16, Ben & Jerry's is at 16. Here in Florida, because of the high heat and it makes you sweat, we usually run 10 or 12%. So it depends on your market. But this is what the dairy delivers to me, is this bag of blend that came out of the cow just 2 days ago, fresh. Ken, you had a question?
Yeah, someone wants to know if they want to serve the ice cream soft, do they need to freeze it hard, then store it at a higher temperature to serve it soft?
If they want to serve it soft, they can, as long as they get rid of it and sell it all off in 36 hours. Because after 36 hours, ice cream will develop little ice chunks in it called heat shock from being in the refrigerator and then back out again, in and out. So yes, you can serve it soft. That's the way we serve gelato, but you got to get rid of it within 36 hours. That's the problem with gelaterias. We don't sell as much ice cream in the United States as they do in Italy. So Italy will run out of a flavor and say, sorry, go somewhere else, and you do. In America, if your ice cream parlor out on Cape Cod, which you go to visit once every 2 years, is out of mint chip, and they say, sorry, we're out, they've lost a customer. They're not coming back. So the answer is yes, you can serve it soft. So the dairy in the United States, we have dairies all over the country. This is the way we buy the product. I'd love to get rid of the term mix and call it a blend, but it's nothing more than the same good ingredients that you would do. Plus, the people who put this together know way more than I'll ever know about the ice cream business. They're food scientists, and they know what percentage of cream and milk. They know that the cows, that there's a difference between Guernsey cows and Jersey cows. That there's a difference between cream in the spring as opposed to what's in the winter. These are all factors you have to take into mind. And so when someone tells me they're going to make their own mix, I say, you know, more power to you, but I think of the arrogance of thinking that you know more than someone who has spent 10 years studying this and is a dairy scientist working for a dairy. Now, let me show you what the Italians promote. Because this is really way off base. America makes better gelato than the Italians do, hands down. And the reason is very simple. Over in Italy, they have cattle cows, but they don't have moo cows. They don't have the cows that give milk. Those are in Argentina, where there's a large Italian population. The moo cows are milked in Argentina. They take the product and they put it through a machine that my friend's father invented called a spray dryer, and they turn it into a powder. They then ship the powder to Bologna, Italy. Bologna, Italy puts it up in a nice fancy foil bag, and then they ship this to you to the Port of Elizabeth, New Jersey. They then ship it to you in Idaho, and they tell you you have to reconstitute this. Sounds exactly like this, doesn't it? Sounds like this stuff that you keep. We keep this around in case of hurricanes. You know, we think that if we have a hurricane, we're all going to go nuts wanting to have milk. I don't drink milk. Anyway, you have to reconstitute this with water, then you have to repasteurize it, bring it back up 160 degrees, and then make ice cream. Now you tell me that's a better product than something like this bag that came out of the cow a day or two ago. We make a much fresher product than they do in Italy. Ken?
Do any of the mixes have eggs in them?
You can buy a mix with egg in it. That's called a French ice cream mix or a custard mix. A custard mix has by law, a certain percentage of egg yolk in it. And I would only want egg yolk put in by a dairy. I mean, it's just pretty risky dealing with fresh eggs. Question?
The mix comes refrigerated?
Yes.
And what's the shelf life of it?
This particular one came from Dairy Mix in St. Pete, and it has a shelf life of about 3 weeks. Some of them have shelf lives of 10 days. The ultra-high temperature pasteurized products like HP Hood up in Massachusetts could last a couple of months. So it depends on how they pasteurized it.
How do you compare that? I think you did a video on that product, Amish cheese.
Yes.
Compare that to this mix.
G's is this product. It's a powdered ice cream mix. They've taken this fresh dairy at a dairy in Ohio, and they've then taken this and spray dried it into a powder. The purpose of this is, since we have so many dairies in the United States, the purpose of this is for export. If you're in Indonesia and you can't get this fresh dairy, or it's going to be too expensive, I mean, look at the weight of this compared to the weight of this. Which one do you want to fly over to Indonesia? I want to fly over the G's because it's a very good dairy product, but I do mix it with water and then put it in the machine. It's excellent. Is it as good as fresh dairy? No. But it's really, really good. And if that's the only way you can get the product, that's how you do it. Yes?
If you use the G's, do you have to repasteurize?
I don't know that there's any other country in the world that makes you repasteurize product than the United States. So the answer would be no, because you're going to use that outside. If you're going to use it here, technically, yes, you need to repasteurize it.
Steve, what's the average price for them, for the mix?
For the mix, will depend on the butterfat content. And the good and bad thing about dairy products is they go up and down in price. Once they go up, they don't stay locked up. They do come back down. Right now, dairy is, it was about $6 by whatever volume they measure it. Now it's $10. It's going to come back down again in the spring. I would say this is about probably about $6 a gallon, $6.50 a gallon, but it will make twice as much ice cream. So if you've got a gallon of mix, you can make up to 2 gallons of ice cream. So your cost would be $3 a gallon before you flavor it. So let me get this started, and you'll be able to try this. So I need, let me check my formula, because I've got different size machines. I need 5 quarts of the mix. Now these things are like working with a water bed, so they're kind of risky. They do make a basket that you can put it in, and it makes it easier to hold, but always an adventure. Okay. Again, milk, cream, sugar, and skim milk. That's all that's in there. Make sure the gate's closed. That's set. Okay, fire them away.
First one is, one person lives in a small town in south central Missouri, and they're wondering if they would be having, if they would have trouble getting mix or finding mix. Any thoughts on that?
Pacific Valley Dairy handles their area without any problem, and they have 10, 12, 14, and 16% butterfat. There's going to be other dairies in the area, but Pacific comes to mind right then. So no, you can get ice cream mix anywhere in the United States. Now, one thing about the deliveries of mix, again, as I said about Ken, and he's got all these technical terms for computers, we have technical terms too. When the mix gets delivered, it's got to be refrigerated. So you put it into a refrigerator. But we can't just call it a refrigerator. We have to call it a mixed storage box. But a mixed storage box is nothing more than a refrigerator. But the question is, how big a mixed storage box do I buy? Well, does the dairy deliver once a week, or does the dairy deliver twice a week? If they deliver twice a week, I need a smaller mixed storage box because they're coming again in 3 days. Or if they only deliver once a week, I need a bigger one. If they're 200 miles away and they only want to deliver every 2 weeks, that's fine too. I'll take a larger quantity and I can freeze this. This mix was actually frozen. I bought this in January, and the day it came in, I froze it. So it's as fresh as when I bought it in January, but I did thaw it overnight so that we could run it today. So I've got the mix in here. I'm going to add some vanilla. I like vanilla. It brings out the taste of everything. And there's 2 very good companies. There's Lockheed and Nielsen Massey. and they only make vanilla. And they're both in the United States. They're both family businesses.
Does the dairy add any stabilizers to the mix?
Does dairy have stabilizers in it? It can go as low as guar gum and carrageenan and as high as polysorbate 80. And if I was picking a dairy, I would bring in dairy product from 3 different dairies. Let me get this going, and then I'll finish that question. Mix, vanilla, cookies, and bananas. I do this one. I'm not as honest and pure as I look. This ice cream is a cheap, shameless trick to show off the Emery Thompson batch freezers, because you can't do this with any other batch freezer. When we make our freezing cylinders, what the other people do is they take a thin piece of stainless steel and they stamp it into a spaghetti pot. Well, when you're stamping something, the taller it is, the thinner it's got to be, or it won't go through the stamping machine. So the spaghetti pot is very, very thin, and that's what you're going to find in everybody else's ice cream machine as a freezing chamber. So their warranties say do not put nuts, cookies, bananas into the machine, because we'll void your warranty, because they're afraid you're going to damage the freezing cylinder. Our cylinders are made by taking plate stainless steel, 6 times as thick as that. We take plate stainless steel, we roll it, we heliarc weld it, we put a back wall on and weld that, and that becomes my freezing cylinder. And then we wrap it in up to 110 feet of copper tubing. Everybody else uses aluminum. Aluminum is in your car. Even if you've got a BMW, it's aluminum tubing that they've spray painted copper color. Aluminum will wear out in 11 years. It's finished. It develops holes in it. It's done. It's just a leaky Freon mess, and you throw the whole machine away in the garbage. It's a lot of money to throw away in the garbage. Emery Thompson only uses copper. Copper is inert. It'll last hundreds and hundreds of years. And we wrap all our cylinders in copper. We make the thicker cylinders. So this ice cream I'm going to make this morning can't be made on another machine, because it'll void the warranty. And their openings are so small, you'd have to puree everything to get it in there. I'm going to throw everything right in the machine. We got the mix in there. I'm going to take the speed down a little bit, make a little heavier ice cream. Take it down to about 177. Turn on the refrigeration. This time I'll use my ice cream cone. My bookkeeper got me this. It's really cool. Let that go. Yes, question. The mix what? Oh, the mix, well, it's got milk, cream, sugar, and skim milk in it, so it is sweet. It does not have flavor in it. I don't want to buy a flavored mix, because they're not going to buy the best vanilla like I am. So I'm going to just dump half the bag of these cookies right in here. Now, I came up with 2 terms for making ice cream: fruit flavor and fruit identity. If I can put the cookies in here, it's going to have the flavor of Oreo cookie, but it is going to grind the cookies up inside the machine. So if I'm blindfolded and I go to taste the ice cream, I can say, yeah, that's Oreo cookie ice cream. I take the blindfold off and I can't see any cookies. So I'm going to take the other half of the cookies, and I'm going to, after I get the other ingredients in, I'm going to take each cookie and snap it into about 4 pieces, and I'm going to shake them in as it's coming out. That will give me my identity. That'll say, yeah, oh yeah, that's Oreo cookie ice cream. I can see the cookies. So they all go right in. And then the bananas. Now, if you don't like bananas, you're actually going to like this ice cream. Isn't that shameless? No other machine on earth can do this. And I just love this. I do trade shows sometimes and live demonstrations, and the other people, they're usually in white coats and they're talking in Italian, and they've got something, I don't know what it's called, a spectrograph or a spectrometer, and they're looking at the mix through it. I have no idea what they're saying. Maybe it's Jupiter or Mars, but who knows what they're looking at. And they make it just seem like it's such a difficult process. But what's so difficult about this? And Paula got me these yesterday. They're ripe and ready to eat. I would have preferred black bananas, ones that absolutely look horrible and you would never think of putting on your table, because as they get black and old looking, they actually have a higher sweeter content. They have more banana flavor. So if anybody's ever made banana bread, like our bookkeeper makes a fabulous banana bread, she's using very dirty looking bananas. I was doing this once at a Malcolm Stogo seminar, and I was in a rush coming out of the Bronx. I forgot my bananas, so I stopped at what we in Westchester County call a deli. They call down in the Bronx a bodega. And I buy plantains. Looks just like a banana. And so I get up there, and I'm going, and I make the comment, and I say, you know, this isn't brain surgery. It's really easy. And there's this guy in the front row, and he says, well, Steve, I got to tell you, I am a brain surgeon, and you're going to kill us with that product. I go, what are you talking about? He says, those aren't bananas. Those are plantains. And if you don't cook them, they're going to kill us. So I just said, okay, we're going to move on to another flavor now. So maybe it is brain surgery. Okay, that's going. And let me break the rest of the cookies up. So all my fruit flavor is in the machine. Yes? If you go to our website right now, good question. If you go to our website right now, at the very front, Ken has just posted all the recipes that we've done with these Lunch with the Presidents over the last couple of years. And they're up there for you. As soon as I finish this and wash my hands, I'll show you something else. Malcolm Stogo is a wonderful ice cream maker. He does a course that he charges for about $1,000. But his course is hands-on. You'll actually be running the machine. So we both have our place in how to do this. He has written a number of books about making ice cream, ices, and gelato. And he's put all his recipes over the last 3 books, into one book. It's a book that we sell. I'll show it to you. It's called Incredible Ice Cream. And it's got over 300 recipes, like I said. The best way I can describe it is I'm not much of a cook unless I'm in front of a barbecue grill, and then I can burn a burger with the best of them. But if I had to make pancakes, I don't know how to make pancakes. I've never made pancakes. So I would probably pick up The Joy of Cooking, one of Paulo's books, and I would read, here's how you make pancakes. Here's what ingredients you use. And since The Joy of Cooking made the formula, it's probably a damn good pancake. And then, as I become the pancake king of the South, I'll change the recipe to my personal taste. Well, Malcolm's book, Incredible Ice Cream, has got recipes that when you get into it, these are all perfect. They'll have you, here's Fudgy Wudgy ice cream, which is chocolate-covered almond fudge. Red raspberry ice cream, real Italian espresso gelato. We're going to make that today. In the back, it explains terms like corn syrup, solids, stabilizers, green apple candied sorbet. Back here is an index of all the companies that he recommends. And he and I we are of the same mind. We don't take money from other companies because you can't serve 2 masters. So anything I do is along the Rush Limbaugh approach to making ice cream, and that is everything is to make me look good. So if recommending a certain company, 2 companies for vanilla is going to make you a great vanilla ice cream, you're going to say, boy, that Steve Thompson made me a great recommendation. This book is a great recommendation. It's not cheap. It's $65 from us, plus the shipping. But I don't know anywhere else where you can get all these recipes. I'll pass that around for you. It's like a college education in a book. Ken, you had a question?
One person wants to know about where they might find organic mixes, mixes with cane syrup, cane sugar versus corn syrup, and a recommendation for a dairy in Chicago, northern Indiana area.
Getting an organic mix is a problem in the United States because in order to do organic, you come under federal law And the federal law has restrictions like the land has to lay fallow for a number of years without chemicals in it. And that's what what the cows are eating. So in order to make an organic dairy mix, there's a very good one on the West Coast in San Francisco, Strauss Family Creamery. There are others around the United States, but they're few and far between. You'll have to look around for them. They're usually going to be small farms, and the price is going to be substantially higher than a regular dairy product. I think that if you can find a non-steroidal mix, which is most of them now, they're no longer injecting the cows with all sorts of steroids. And if you can find stabilizers that don't have polysorbate 80 or other chemicals that you can't even pronounce, then you're coming up with a good mix. But to find the organic is tough. I am very in favor of organic. Paula now has me eating organic lettuce on top of my Big Mac, and I feel healthier for it. I do think it's got a place in the world. Let me see how this is doing. I'm looking for this to open and close and cut off nicely. And that has, I'm going to give it a little bit longer. My timer just went off. Instead of dumping this all in 30 seconds, I'm going to take it out a little slower, and I'm going to shake the product in. And I'm going to use these gelato pans just so you can see how it's done. This is what the Italians do, and it's a nice presentation. There's no doubt about it. In a case like that where you can see it, it all looks good. It drives the cost up. Let's see if these are fresh. They are. They just had a report that Oreo cookies will last 200 years. I hope to be around to prove it. So I'll check that again. Almost there. It's cutting off cleanly. Okay, I think right after the break we'll talk about frozen yogurt. Just remind me. We're going to take a coffee break in a minute, so we'll still be here, but we're just going to go get some Starbucks coffee or water or soda, anything anybody wants. You can come to our Lunch with the President seminars. The next one will be the first Wednesday in May. It's free, and we actually serve you lunch. Plus all the ice cream and ices and gelato you can eat. So that's ready. I'm going to turn off the refrigeration. I think I'll use this to help me. Now this is the most complicated ice cream you'll ever make. So keep that in mind. Instead of opening it all the way, I'm opening it part way. And I'm shaking these in. Maybe I'll open that a little more. Shake in some more. So that's not so complicated, is it? Close the gate. Throw some more in. And let me get a spatula. I'll dip it in the sterile water. And just smooth that out. That looks nice. And let me get another container. And what makes this difficult as an ice cream is I'm just doing two things at once, but even so, it's not that hard. And this is the most difficult ice cream that you'll make. Now, at the bottom of the container, I'll show you in a second, is cookie dust, left over from breaking up the cookies. And the tendency is to throw it, take the cookie dust that's in there, and throw it on top of the ice cream. Don't do it, because every New Yorker knows it's not cookie dust, it's dirt. And you just swept up the floor and you threw the dirt into your ice cream just to get rid of it. So, because of us New Yorkers, you've got to modify the way you do things a little bit. And that's about it. Any left in the machine, which is very little, I can get the rest out because I'll probably make another batch in production. I'd be making a second batch of Oreo cookie or maybe Heath candy bar. And if some Heath candy bar gets into my Oreo cookie, or cookie gets into the Heath candy bar, it doesn't matter. Yes, question?
So you use a half of the back of the mix, right?
Yes.
each one of that batch?
Well, it depends on the air content. I made a lower air content, so if my mix costs $6 and I made the maximum air, it would be $3 a gallon. I don't know what size these are. So air is not only necessary for the ice cream, it's also profitable. Can you see that okay? That's a nice product. So come on up and we'll try this. We have the recipes all up on the website. You can get them there. Even our price list is up there. It just drives me nuts that people will not tell you how much a machine costs. How do you know if you can afford it if you don't know what it costs? So my prices are right up there on the website. And let's see, I'll use this. Now, one thing about ice cream, spoons are there, is the flavor is enhanced 24 hours, 8 to 24 hours later. So what you taste now, the flavor will be more intense, more cold after it's aged a bit. So although this is a great tasting ice cream, it gets better with time. But that's just fresh out of the machine, and you'll taste the banana in there. I tried making banana coffee ice cream one day, the same formula, but I used coffee. It was awful. Coffee and bananas do not go together. So you experiment, and you see what people like. Would you like some? No? And that's it. That's our more difficult ice cream. I don't have them with me right now, we have a series of free DVDs, 4 of them, and growing, that will show you how we did all this. And they're free. That's the best part. All you have to do is send me an email to etfreezers@gmail.com, and we'll get those free DVDs out to you, and no matter where you are in the world, so you can see what it is we're making. Look at the timing of this. Good. Another thing I want to tell you about is there's a blog. A blog is a bunch of people, if you're not computer literate like me, is a bunch of people getting together and just talking back and forth on the computer. And they use an address. The one I belong to, and it's free, is called Ice Cream. It's a long name. Ice Cream Folks at yahoogroups.com. You have to have the Yahoo groups, not just Yahoo. And this started up in New England by Steve Rapucci, who owns Mad Maggie's Ice Cream. And it has grown to where it's worldwide. And this is just the greatest resource you'll ever run into. You can ask them any question. All they ask you to do, you don't have to give away any secrets, just say, "Hi, I'm Steve from Brooksville, Florida." So we have your name and where you're located, because if you say, "Where do I get whole walnuts dipped in chocolate?" and you're in Taiwan, their answer isn't going to do you much good. But if you say, "I'm Steve from Taiwan," then we can tailor the answer, there's that word, and we can doctor the answers to you. So this is a really great resource. And like every other group, every group on the internet, we have our characters. I happen to be one of them. And you'll get to learn who we are, like Malcolm and Gary in Chelmsford, and the people out in Cape Cod. And it's just a very eclectic, fun group. So keep that one in mind, Ice Cream Folks at Yahoo Groups. Ken, you had a question?
Yes, is it okay to pour hot mix directly into the machine, and will it affect the quality of the ice cream? And also, when you take the ice cream out of the freezer, or the batch freezer, should it be put in the flash freezer right away?
Putting hot mix into a machine, most people will tell you that ice cream mix is better if you let the ice cream mix age for a few hours or even a day, if you have that luxury. This is obviously someone who's going to make their own mix. You can put hot products into an Emery Thompson. If you put it into any other machine, you'll destroy the machine, because what happens is the cylinder, the spaghetti pot that they use, is so thin that when you put hot liquid into it, the gas, the Freon gas, the environmentally friendly propellant R404A, expands very quickly, and it will bubble the cylinder. It'll make a bubble in the stainless steel, and your machine will be absolutely ruined. So they void your warranty if you do that. You can do it in an Emery Thompson with one exception. I tell people you can put hot water into an Emery Thompson. You could put hot mix in. The problem is there are some restaurants, especially in New York City, where their hot water is practically live steam. So my general rule is if you can put your hand in there without pulling back in pain, it's okay for the Emery Thompson. I mean, if you put your hand in it, it's going to burn you. I mean, it's not good for you. It's not good for any machine. But yes, you can do it with an Emery Thompson, which sure makes cleanup easier, because when you have to clean with that little Cappigiani spigot of cold water, all you're doing is sloshing around dairy product. You need some good, warm, hot water to cut through the butter fat. But as far as quality, you'll have a lesser quality product putting hot mix into a machine. It really needs to age for a few hours, according to dairy scientists, or even a day. That will bring out the flavor. If you're a gelateria and you want to pull the ice cream right out of the machine and put it right into your serving cabinet, that's fine. I wrote an article, and it's become the accepted standard of the industry, is to harden gelato. The reason is, in Italy, there's no loyalty of gelaterias. When I was in Florence, 11 in the morning, I go to one gelateria and say, I would like some tiramisu. I'm sorry, we ran out. But there's a gelateria just 4 doors down, go there. And so I went there and I got my tiramisu. In the United States, it's kind of like a restaurant. When someone comes into your hometown, yeah, you can go to Ruth Chris, or you can go to any other chain of steakhouse. But when you come into my town, make sure you go to such and such a restaurant. It's my restaurant for steak. This is what you aim to have in business, is that you may own the business, but people refer to it as my ice cream parlor, my steakhouse. Make sure you go see my Italian bakery. It's not their business. They don't own the Italian bakery, but they're taking ownership of it, that they like it so much they refer to it as mine. So that doesn't happen with gelaterias in Italy, but it does with ice cream parlors. So if you run out of tiramisu at 11 in the morning, I'm going to be really unhappy. American ice cream parlors can't run out of ice cream or gelato or Italian ice. They have to have all the flavors they advertise. So that's why we harden the ice cream, and that's why we keep an inventory of it. I've heard some so-called competition say, buy my machine, you don't need a hardening cabinet. Let me say the same thing about an Emery Thompson. Buy my machine, you don't need a hardening cabinet. If you promise me that all the ice cream you make today, you'll sell within 36 hours, because otherwise it's going to get ice crystals. If you didn't need hardening cabinets to keep ice cream for a long time, you wouldn't have Breyers or Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's spending literally millions and millions of dollars to build 200,000 square foot hardening rooms where the finished ice cream goes in one end, is frozen at 60 below zero, and comes out the other. They just wouldn't spend the money if it wasn't necessary. Question?
You said something about every batch taking around 20 minutes, right? To freezes and everything. How long can I use the machine continuously?
You can use an Emery Thompson 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the next 45 years. And I have people doing it. We're a very popular machine in developing countries. You get into an island nation like Sri Lanka, and they might not need a whole $15 million Breyers dairy plant. They have one person with 5 or 10 Emery Thompsons, and they're supplying the entire nation. The lower the labor costs, the more hours my machines are worked. They're designed, right? This little one has got all the same design components as the world's largest batch freezer, the Emery Thompson 44 quart or 11 gallon. They're identical machines in design. We build them to last forever and require absolutely the minimal amount of maintenance. So you can run it all day long, but you said 20 minutes. Every ice cream is different, which is another reason I don't have a timer on there. If I made straight vanilla and it's the first batch, it's going to be about 7.5 minutes. If I make another batch of vanilla, it's going to be, the first batch will be 8 minutes. The second batch will be 7.5 minutes. The machine is already cool. If I make 30 batches of vanilla, run right after the other, they'll all be ready in 7.5 minutes. It won't keep getting lower. Now I switch and I make strawberry. Remember I said earlier on that the higher the sugar content, the longer the freezing time? Now I've thrown strawberries into the ice cream, and so that's added more sugar to the overall formula, so my freezing time is going to go up to 10 minutes because of the strawberries. Same thing with Italian ices. Lemon ice might be 16 minutes. Strawberry ice might be 18 minutes. Not much is going to go beyond that. But that's why I don't have an automatic shut-off of the machine. I've seen Taylor machines run, and they shut off right after 8 minutes, and the salesman just casually goes over and turns on the refrigeration switch again because he knows the product's not ready because he was making strawberry. You don't need anything more than to keep, when you're beginning, just a small chart that says, okay, my vanilla takes 7.5, my strawberry takes 10, my cherry Italian ice takes 19 minutes. They're just averages. Basically, I just come over and take a look. You know, it's not like the Italians where they pull out the spectrograph again and they study it to see Jupiter and Mars and you know, decide if it's ready. I can decide by open it, close it. If it cuts off like a knife went through it, it's ready. Question?
What's the least amount you can make in the machine?
This one you have to make a full batch. A full batch is 6 quarts finished, so that would be about 4 quarts going in. All the larger machines you can make half batches. The warning there is if you're making a half batch of this Oreo banana ice cream, it won't, and it took 8 minutes, it won't take 4 minutes to make a half batch. It'll take something less than 8 minutes, but not half the time. So it means on a half batch you have to watch it carefully. But my real thinking about half batches is either you're making something you're not confident in, or your customers don't like it, or you overbought on the size of the machine. Because why are you constantly making half batches? Just because you make like ricotta and pear gelato doesn't mean the rest of the world does. And if you're only making half batches of ricotta and pear gelato, then you're guessing wrong. They don't like it. I mean, your taste is wonderful, but it's the customer. I mean, we're here to make money, and it's what the customer wants to buy is what counts. We're going to take a quick coffee break, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes, and then Neil Williams is here. He's jetted in from the Cayman Islands, where he keeps his third home, to tell us about the other equipment that goes into ice cream parlors. This man is a genius on push carts and dipping cabinets and hardening cabinets, and we're really stressing, of course, today Italian ice coming into the season. So if you can tell us a little bit about push carts, and I'm going to show Neil something new at the same time. In fact, let me do it real quick. I want to show, this is for Neil to see because it'll work so well on one of his push carts. I've contacted this company and said, I want to sell these, and they haven't written me back. But here is a container. It's filled with a gel, and you take this container, it comes in white or black, and you freeze this in your freezer. And then if you've got a dipping cabinet with no refrigeration on it, you can just say buy 6 of these. And you put them into your freezer cabinet already frozen. You take your tub of Italian ice and you drop it in there, and it will keep for 6 hours. So without any other refrigeration, you've got 6 hours of ability to scoop this product. I think this thing's fantastic. If they let me sell them, I'll sell them for less than anyone else as a courtesy to my customers. And also, it came with, this was a mistake. It came with this beautiful dome. But the whole purpose of these for me is for Italian ices and ice cream and push carts. I don't need the dome. That's just more air. I'm going to design a lid that is going to lower as your product goes down, so you're only keeping the product that you have frozen. But this is great. This is going to change the whole outlook of Italian ices serving in push carts. And they're about 75 or 80 bucks each. So you buy 6 of these, and you've solved all your refrigeration problems. So we got something pretty neat there. So let's take a break, and we'll come back in 5 or 10 minutes. There's coffee over here.